And now we get to hear from someone who's a little less biased, right? Not on any side, not the custodian side, not the self custodian side, okay? This is just a venture capitalist who finds interest, okay? A crypto enthusiast. This is Jill Gunter. And let's see what she has to say, guys. I love her perspective, okay? Because it shows where majority of us who don't have a bias, we can see both sides. And so we do have an incentive, right? We do have more so a reason to come together and work together, guys. So I'm excited. Check this out.
Context can be complicated, setting aside this particular context. So I think there's probably more to come back to on all of that. But let me go to Jill.
Thank you. As both a consumer of products in the DeFi space and the broader blockchain ecosystem, and also a founder behind some of them, I am strongly motivated by both the value and the value proposition of transparency. And for that reason, I think that disclosures, whether they're mandated from an oversight body or a regulatory body, or whether they have just become industry best practice, I think they're enormously helpful. I'm speaking even from my own personal experience as a consumer. As I mentioned earlier, these systems are extraordinarily complicated under the hood. I don't read the 15-page credit card agreement when I sign up for a new card, nor do I audit my own smart contracts as a consumer when I'm using products. But in both cases, I think the transparency and the fact that there are people in each respective industry who are scrutinizing these transparent details is extremely helpful. It's not an enviable position to be in, to either be on the industry side and trying to promote self-regulation, or to be at an oversight body to try to walk the line between being overly burdensome and creating a regime and a set of best practices that people abide by that is actually helpful to consumers. I want to touch very briefly on what I think is at stake on that front. If I was to draw a thread through my career, a common theme has been the great assets that the United States has in terms of being able to attract capital, both due to the dynamics around its capital markets and due to the power and the strength of the US dollar as a means of savings and of payments. I live in Silicon Valley, San Francisco. It is the hub of innovation globally. Every social network, every AI application that you use, that you have on your phone, has been invented there. I am one of a handful of crypto founders left there. I want to emphasize that. This was not the case 5 or 6 years ago. It used to be a buzzing hub of crypto activity. It is rare these days to come by someone who is still living not just in Silicon Valley, but in the United States, who's an entrepreneur in this space.
Wow.
And it's due to the regimes that not only the US as a government and as an ecosystem and as a set of institutions has imposed, but it's also due to the challenging aspects that Michael Jordan touched upon earlier as an industry ourselves of the practices that have been created. There's been a chilling effect throughout the industry, especially for those domiciled in the United States, and especially on the best, most scrupulous actors in the industry. People sometimes say to me and they question, oh, you still working in crypto? I thought that it was, just sort of frauds and bad actors left there. And that's because if it feels like it's illegal to work in crypto, if it feels like you're doing something bad, it's going to drive out those most scrupulous actors, either outside of the United States or out of the industry altogether. And that's far too often been the case. And I think that it's critical that we don't create overly burdensome disclosure regimes or other regulatory regimes and further drive out the good, well-intended actors. But I also think it's critical that we have norms around transparency so that those who are trying to create best practices that do protect consumers and retail users and investors can thrive and compete against those who are less scrupulous.